screen, work on the LIWP program with Barbara Higgins and Jake Tysinger. So excited to kick off the LIWP invoicing training. It's something we all need to do, and we're also going to review reporting as well as invoicing. Great, and just a brief review about Build a Green if you don't already know what our mission is. Our mission is to help professionals adopt green building practices and grow the market for efficient, healthy homes. So thank you for helping us achieve that mission, and excited to work with you on LIWP. Okay, so here's a visual of today's agenda. I'll briefly run through all these items that we'll discuss today in this training. So we'll first discuss using Dropbox. Some of you may have already had experience using Dropbox, so that portion may be more of a refresher, but I'll go over how we'll use that tool for submitting invoices and saving the workforce development reports. So those are the two main items we'll discuss today, invoicing and workforce development report. For the invoice portion, we'll include within your LIWP invoice, and then we'll walk through the monthly workforce development report and go through how to enter the data for each tab. At the end, we'll give an overview of the invoice and reporting due dates, and there will be a portion at the end of this training for any questions you had throughout the slides. So we reserved an hour and a half for this training. I don't think it would take more than an hour, but we reserved an hour and a half anyway, just in case. Using Dropbox. What is Dropbox? Dropbox is an online tool that we'll be using where everyone will save their invoices and reports within their company's folder. This tool is useful because it is a cloud-based program, and files can be uploaded and downloaded between multiple parties. It syncs to your computer or phone. You can share files with anyone, and even if you don't have a Dropbox account, and we'll go into more detail on that in the next slide. So we'll email you your company's specific Dropbox folder link this Friday by the end of the day. You'll see within your invoice, or within the invoice folder, you'll see a folder marked with the date of, or the month title of September. And so you'll submit your September invoices within that folder. And you'll also see a workforce development report template. The second picture in this slide, the one below the top, is what you'll see once you are on the Dropbox website. So you'll see your company name and then your invoice folder and the workforce development template. I've listed the invoice process in 3 steps. So the first is an installed measures report will be placed in your folder by the 3rd of the month by us. And the second step is your company will use that report to create your company's invoice. The third step is you will complete the workforce development report and save the completed report by the 5th of each month. Okay, how to invoice. So I'm sure most of you have created an invoice before, but this is just a brief overview of what we hope that your invoices will look like when you submit them to us. Just remember to include the basic information you usually include in an invoice, your company name, address, contact number, invoice number, and total amount owed for that invoice month. The invoice should have the list of the measures installed, the price per measure, and the project name, and know that we'll include that information in the installed measures report that we'll submit on the 3rd of each month. And then just a reminder to send in your W-9s if you haven't already. And you could email those to liwp@builditgreen.org or Barbara Higgins. But Barbara also checks the liwp@builditgreen.org email, so that either one is fine. Okay, so now we'll talk about the workforce development report. You can find the template of this report within your Dropbox folder after we've sent you the link. And I've highlighted this report in the screenshot here. It will be the second one down. Within this report, there will be 3 main tabs to complete, and we'll walk through each tab in the next few slides. Okay. So the first tab in the report is the total LIWP work hours tab. This tab is probably the most straightforward. All you'll need to input here is a full tally of all the hours your company has worked on LIWP. So all staff hours included in column D of that first tab in the report. Next is the workforce development tab. This one is probably it's the most lengthy tab in the report, and you'll enter all the data of any new hires within the reporting month. So for example, if you hired staff on the 1st of September, you'll need to enter their data within the September report. If an employee was hired in February and they do work on LIWP, in that example, you would not need to include them in this report, as CSD only wants to know about the employees hired on or after when the contract started. And then each individual employee should represent a single row, and you'll need to provide monthly updates on that individual in this blue section here if there are any updates. Okay. In column A, you'll see a long number, which is the employee ID you will need to create. And an employee ID consists of a code made up of 13 numbers and letters. And the first digit represents one of the 5 CSD regions. So if you're in region 4, for example, the first number in your employee code would be 4. For column B, you would have, you'll have to use Cal EnviroScreen's website to search if the employee lives within a DAC, a disadvantaged community. And even though we're going through what's needed for this report and this training, you could always look at the instructions tab within the workforce development report template, and that's circled in red on this screenshot. So you could always ask us questions or refer back to the instructions tab as well. But now we'll go through what I think the next slide is the Cal EnviroScreen website. Okay, so kind of diverging a little bit, but this is the website needed that you'll need to have open in order to search if your employee his home is located within a DAC. And so you would enter the employee's address within the search section of the website, and their dot will appear on the screen. If they are within the red sections of the map, that means they are within a DAC, and in that case, you would enter the 10-digit census tract number in column B of the report. Okay, so going back to what the report looks like, if you scroll over to the right, you'll see the green section of the report in the same workforce development tab. In this green section of the report, you'll fill out the hours and wage details, and you only have to complete this section for each employee one time. And there are certain sections where you'll click on the cell and choose from a drop-down menu, and other sections you'll enter in the data manually. And just as a side note as well, you'll you will leave a kind of running tally of all of these employees. So for each month, you can keep this growing list of all the employees that you did hire within the reporting session. Last section in this same tab of the Workforce Development Report is where you'll enter the employee status, the type of work, hours spent on LIWP, current total wage, and certifications. And this is what you'll see when you'll scroll all the way right within the template. And same as before, you'll either select from a drop-down cell, or you'll click a cell and there'll be a drop-down selection to choose from, or you'll enter the data manually.
And just a reminder, if you've called in to join this meeting or are calling in through your computer, please make sure your microphones or your phones are muted so we don't pick up your audio in the recording.
Thank you. Okay, so this is the last tab of the Workforce Development Report that you'll need to populate the data. It's called the Local Spending tab. These are major or frequent expenses that you'll report to CSD. So the process for this tab is similar to what you had to do for searching an employee's address within a DAC, and you'll use the same Cal EnviroScreen website to search vendor addresses in that website, and then you'll enter the 10-digit census tract number that comes up if they are within a DAC. And a quick note about that as well, you will see the census tract number if they are within a red section and you just click on that red section, then the census tract number will pop up. And also a note here that you don't have to include all the vendors that you are purchasing from that aren't located within a DAC. Just simply only include the ones that you do find that are located within a DAC. And like the Workforce Development Report Instructions tab, there is a Local Spending Instructions tab that will also give you a detailed review of what's needed for this section of the report. All right, well, we're coming to the end of this webinar and training, and so definitely have plenty of questions, or plenty of time for questions. But now we'll just gonna give an overview of the due dates for invoices and reports. So as mentioned in the beginning, we'll save the installed measures report in your specific company folder by the 3rd of each reporting month. And invoices submitted to BIG, or please submit your invoices to us every 5th of the reporting month. And as well as please save and complete your workforce development reports in your Dropbox folder by the 5th of the reporting month as well. And please, you could reuse the previous month's template and update that same report monthly and save as a new report. Great. So if you have any questions about invoices in particular or the reports in particular, please feel free to email us at LIWP@builditgreen.org or call that 510 number, extension 199. So now we'll give a brief 5-minute break, and you can maybe collect your questions, and we'll reopen that for discussion. Thank you.
Yeah, just a reminder to, as you have the questions, you can send them through the chat window on the right side of your screen for GoToMeeting. There is one question that had come in while we were presenting that we'll bring up. So the question was, under the invoice report, is the project name the point of contact of the home? So good question. The project name, the way our system is set up, if you've gotten into Start Any Enrollments or Assessments, the project name, each project that's created within the tool has a unique project name, and typically those include the actual address of the home entered. So the report that we'll put in each of your folders will be organized by the project name, which is essentially the address of the home, and then it'll include the list of measures, the quantity, and the rates. So one thing that could be done, I think, to possibly reduce work for you all and avoid some formatting headaches, is once we submit that report to you, if everything on that report looks good and matches with the records you have on your end, you could simply send us an invoice with the list of all the project names and then a total at the bottom of the amount that you're invoicing us for. And we'll keep that report that we initially put in your folder on the 3rd along with that invoice of yours as backup to show what you're reimbursing us for. So if it's easier for you all just to list all the projects, the project names, the addresses that you are billing for in each respective month, we'll use that report of all the measures and everything as backup so that you don't have to list every single measure and rate in each of your invoices. So please continue to send your questions through the chat window, and we'll take a look to see if any new ones have come in. Okay, so I've gone ahead and unmuted everybody's lines. If you do have a question and you'd rather speak it over the phone, feel free to unmute yourselves and ask. One question that came in asked whether or not we have a sample of what we just shared with you all. If you're referring to the presentation, we are recording the presentation, and we will share this recording with you afterward. As far as the report goes, we will be able to give you a sample of that probably in the next week or two, probably if possible, ahead of the next reporting cycle, which will be the 3rd of October. That's a Tuesday. So if we can create a report and share it with you ahead of time, a sample one, if that'd be helpful, we'll do it. Otherwise, we'll probably be sharing these in your folders on the 3rd and work with you from there.
Good morning, Jake. This is Lee, Florida. How are you?
Hey, good. How you doing, Lee, Florida?
I am great. So I'm still not clear. So with the invoicing, you don't want all of the measures listed under that actual project name or the address. You just want, it sounds like one total. Is that what you're saying? That's why I was asking you, what does that look like?
I got it. Yeah, so, we're being flexible, and really whichever way is better for your organization. As long as we have the lists of project names, which are essentially the addresses that you're invoicing us for each month, that would be the minimum level of information we need. And we could, as long as that matches the report we gave you, which does include all the measures and rates, then that would be sufficient. But if you're more comfortable, or it's just better for you to list the addresses and the measures and the rates, that's completely fine too.
Report, Jake, that you're issuing to each subcontractor, are you saying that it's something where you already know what measures we have installed? So we're comparing our end results with what you're sharing with us? Yeah,
that's right. So this is an example one which unfortunately doesn't include the project name. So really, instead of the measure names, it could just be the project name and the total rolled up. But Yeah, in this program, since you're going to be using the assessment tool, the portal to complete all of your jobs, at the same time that it's narrowing down the list of measures and creating that scope of work that you'll share with the customer, on the back end, once you complete the job, you'll designate which of those measures you ended up installing, and those will all be stored in our system on the back end by project name, by measure, and by rate. So what we'll do is at the end of the month, we'll pull a report for each individual contractor for all the projects that were completed in that previous month, and list the projects and measures that were installed with the rates. And then basically that's our way of saying, hey, this is what we're expecting you to be invoicing us for on the 5th. If there's no issues on your end and that matches your records, go ahead and send us an invoice with those projects listed and the total. Or if you find that, hey, our report doesn't include something you were expecting to bill for, then we can work on that and figure out what the right amount should be. But yeah, we'll know when a project is completed and it's submitted and approved on our end that which measures you've installed.
And in that scenario, Jake, so if it is a discrepancy, we send it to that LIWP@builditgreen.org email address, or how do we deal with discrepancies?
Yes, that's right. You'll send it to the LIWP@builditgreen.org email address, and that's actually for the Region 2 contractors. We probably should have included this part, but LIWP@builditgreen.org will be the primary email address for these questions for the Region 2 contractors. For you all down in Region 4, it'll actually be LIWP@FCIMGT.com. So FCI, if you've met Sakisha, Keandra, or Pat Watts, they'll be helping us with the Region 4 end of month reporting and invoicing.
And I'm sorry, Jake, that was LIWP@SCI.
FCIMGT.com.
Thank you.
Sure. So it looks like that's all of the questions that have been submitted. Are there any other questions from those of you who called in? Otherwise, we can end early and share this presentation with you and kind of wrap up for the day. Okay, great. Well, hopefully that was helpful for all of you. Again, we'll save this recording and we'll either upload it to the portal or share it in email. I'll have to see what our capabilities are with this. But did want to, while we're on the phone, put a reminder out that this Friday morning from 9:30 to 11, we're going to be having a walkthrough of the portal. So this will be a webinar set up in the same way today's presentation was, and we will show you kind of start to finish enrollment and assessment and how to complete it through the portal. It's an hour and a half that we have set aside, and I anticipate that we'll use that full hour and a half on Friday. And the focus is really to make sure you're comfortable with the basic process and functions of the tool. It'll probably bring up a lot of questions that you have getting into specific scenarios around how to, what to select for certain measures, things like that. And we'll address those questions as much as we can on the call, but you may want to bring your specific questions for how to use the tool in general and how to report things like that to Friday. We'll have a question and answer session at the end. And then next Tuesday morning, the 26th, from 10 to noon, I believe, we're having a 30-day check-in call with all of the partners, so all of the installation partners and outreach partners from Region 2 and Region 4, to provide a general update and timeline and a little report out from the outreach partners, and then again address any general program questions you have and share those on the phone. So as you have questions, please do send those to liwip@builditgreen.org if you're in Region 2. If you're in Region 4, you can send those emails to liwip@fcimgt.com. Between the FCI and Build It Green, we'll get your questions answered. So thanks again for joining us today, and we hope to talk to some of you again on Friday. Thank you.